It's PDQ Live.
Hey everybody, welcome to PDQ Live. We're talking driver deployments today, but before we dive in, we got a couple special guests. We got Lex.
Hey everybody, it's been a minute.
A hot minute, yeah.
Just a hot minute, yeah.
And then here, who's actually the person with all of the knowledge, we have Glenn. I don't know if he shows up on the screen.
He shows up right there, and then we're going to put him, once he gets going.
I don't know, do I?
Yeah, there you are.
All right. Hey, everybody.
It's a little baby Glenn. Hi, Glenn.
Right, so this is
It's okay. My voice is big enough to carry the screen anyway.
Okay, here you go. There's a bigger Glenn.
There's bigger Glenn.
There's little Glenn.
Glenn was doing jazz hands. Did you see that? That was amazing, Glenn.
Was quite impressive.
I'm excited about this one because all the D&I deploy and inventory stuff we covered, there's always got the question is how can we do drivers? And you can shoehorn it in, it's always ugly. But Glenn's got a solution with SmartDeploy on making drivers just
Sexy?
awesome.
Is it sexy?
So that's what we're going to learn today.
Sexy Lexi. It's easy, too.
Glenn, you gonna make it sexy for us, buddy?
Drivers are not sexy. They are ugly and gross and convoluted. But yeah, I will try my best.
Hey, but Glenn, first, will you tell us
SmartDeploy makes
about...
it easy. You don't. They don't have to look nice. It just manages them. It's good.
That's true. Just make them less painful, okay? But Glenn,
Sounds
will you
good.
first tell us about the latest update? Tell us only the cool stuff, though. Don't tell us all the boring crap. Just tell us what's good about this update, okay?
Naturally. So with the latest version of SmartDeploy, we've added a couple of new features. So one of them is that in the software management view in the SmartDeploy console, which allows you to see what software is installed on clients that are in your environment running the SmartDeploy console, previously just had every single application listed separately. So if you had multiple versions of the same application installed across your organization, it would be listed more than once. So this was in response to user feedback. We added the ability to group applications together by name. Now we group them together by display name, which means we are about as good at grouping applications at this point as the Windows Apps and Features widget, because software developers, in all their wisdom, will often bake the version number into the display name. So those ones will show up as separate entries for now. This feature is still under active development. Right now, it'll match things if they have exactly the same display name. You can see here we have different versions of the Microsoft ASP.NET. We've got some 6.0 versions. We've got some 3.1 versions, which were deprecated at the end of last year, but they still exist. We've got multiple versions of Microsoft Edge installed. So you can see which machines in your environment might have an old version or an outdated version installed. And you can easily select all of those and push out the new version if you should so desire.
Cool.
We've also created some improvements to the Office 365 task type. So as some of you may know, with an application pack, you can install Office 365. And the way that works is with a custom task type that behaves somewhat similarly, well, virtually identically to the config.office.com tool for generating a configuration XML. You download the Office Click to Run installer, which is just a little tiny executable, setup.exe. You run that and you pass through a configuration XML, and that'll tell it any setting that's available with Office, what applications to install, what update ring you want to be on, whether you want updates to install automatically. For standalone versions, you can pass through licensing information as well. So all of these things are included here. And what Microsoft did was they changed the download URL for the Office Click to Run installer, which they've done that before, but they didn't do that all that frequently. They would update the installer, but they would leave the URL the same, which would allow us to always be able to fetch the latest version when somebody actually runs this application back on an endpoint. It's going to download the latest version of the installer. It's going to generate a configuration XML, and it's going to run it on that machine. So you're always getting the latest version, and you're always starting from the latest installer version. Microsoft started iterating that installer and changing the URL every single time. So
Oh, that was nice of them.
yeah, we realized we needed a more responsive way to be able to update that URL. So we now control a JSON file, which is hosted on SmartDeploy's website, which includes all of the information here. So if at any point in the future, Microsoft will likely change the URL, we can go ahead and react to that by updating the URL as stored in our JSON file. It'll pull the latest configuration information from there, and it should keep right on working. This was something that we knew we were going to have to actively maintain, and this is just a way for us to maintain it a little bit more efficiently. So if new versions of Office are added in the future, those will also be included on there.
Glenn, that's cool.
I'm totally surprised Microsoft would do something that wasn't simple or...
It would break everything for their API users? Yeah, I
They
don't know.
move stuff?
So there's still a chance that there's going to be a brief window where it's not working again, but it will update update on its own now instead of having to do anything
Exactly
manually.
right. It's going to
That's
be
cool.
so that'll be a task for us to do. So if at any point you are using Office 365 configurations and it doesn't work, it throws an error saying it can't find the file, can't download the file, just reach out to support and we can probably get that fixed in the same day.
Well, and that's really
So-
cool. I love that your team did that. That's cool. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, we are very proud of our engineering team for making this work a whole lot better because this task type is one of our most popular ones. But yeah, it doesn't work if Microsoft breaks it. So
Okay, I love both of those. Is there anything else you want to talk about with the new release?
no, let's talk about platform packs.
Okay, so again, are these drivers?
Platform packs are what we call collections of drivers that are they're stored in a .ppk file format. You can see what those look like here. If I right-click one of the ones in the console, you can see they're stored right here, along with a apparently failed download from earlier. Whoops. And these files just sit in your SmartDeploy directory. So you drive SmartDeploy platform packs, and they are also reflected in your console here. As you can see by the names, they are specific to a particular make and model of device, as well as a particular operating system. So Imaging 101 with SmartDeploy, you may be familiar with imaging solutions that use they use a separate image for each piece of hardware. Basically, anything that is disk sector based, where it's taking an exact copy of a physical disk from a physical machine, that works great if you were deploying to that exact same machine. But most of us have multiple models across our environments now, especially with hybrid and work from home being much more common. So being able to use the same image for multiple devices is a much more common use case. So SmartDeploy images can be deployed to any device in your environment as long as you have a compatible platform pack. The image itself is not in any way specific to the hardware. It is only when you have a compatible platform pack that drivers actually get installed on the target device. And you can download platform packs for every single device in your environment, and only the correct one will ever be used for a particular device. That way you don't waste time injecting a bunch of drivers that might have conflicts with each other, or basically just wasting time injecting them in the first place, because every additional driver that you add to the deployment process increases the length of that process, which is why some of those disk sector-based solutions can take so long to apply the image, because they might have more drivers than you need for a particular machine. So,
Okay, so Glenn, I want to stop you for a second because I think
Please.
that's pretty cool, Jordan. And we were talking about this yesterday after the show. So just so I make sure I understand, I don't need to make a different image for all my Dells and all my Lenovo's, right? I can make one image and just have a platform pack for my Dells and my Lenovo's, right?
Yeah,
That's exactly right.
I think one image per operating system. So if you have a Windows 11, Windows 10, you probably need one for each.
So big time saver.
Yeah, huge time saver.
Space saver too. Think about that.
Yeah.
If you used to have an image for every machine, I mean, just the amount of space that would take.
As someone who has spent so much time updating old and obsolete to gold images, having one or two would make me very, very happy.
Yeah, I
It
think
means
that's
you don't have to
unique.
maintain a bench of hardware for like one representative unit of every model in your environment, so that you can update the image on that physical machine. And if that physical machine ever gets into a bad state, you've got to rebuild it from scratch anyway. SmartDeploy uses a virtual reference machine, so not only do you just have the one reference machine to manage, it's very easy to spin up a new one if you need to, and also the resulting image sizes tend to be much smaller because they are not going to have all of the additional files that are included with anything that originated from hardware.
Cool. Okay, so will you walk us through how do I download a driver?
So in the SmartDeploy console, you would go to the Platform Packs library here, just by clicking on Platform Packs on the left-hand side. And as with any of our libraries, there is a menu here in the top right corner that you can access by clicking on the plus icon here. You click on that and click on Download a Platform Pack. And here is where you can search for any particular model. Somebody give me a model, or give me a make first.
I use a ThinkPad Generation 9, and I really hate it, Glenn.
I was going to say, I think it uses you.
I'm pretty sure it's possessed by the devil, but yeah, let's do that.
So
We got the ThinkPad X1 Carbon Gen 9, so I'll go ahead and download that. You can see here it is downloading. Now, platform packs, as they are downloading, if anything happens to the download on the way through, you lose your connection, whatever, we have a known good hash value for that platform pack. So the console will automatically validate that driver pack upon download. And if it's not downloaded correctly for any reason, it will delete the file and it'll inform you that this has happened, and then you can pick it up again. But most of the time, it just downloads without issue. So that's what it's doing right there. And you can see here it's counting up the percentage that goes.
Jordan, what were you going to say?
So, my question was, because all this is for your general work environment where there's a lot of similarity in your hardware, but I am special, a unique snowflake. So my machine...
I know this about you.
Yeah, so I don't want to say that my work machine is awesome, but I did play Cyberpunk when it first released with no issues.
Wow.
So
Is it made of magic?
You get the magic drivers there?
is there a way with that to handle drivers for someone that's unique and special like me?
Yeah. So basically, these driver packs, and we've got about 1,500 of them in our library. So we have a lot of support for the most common business machines. You are correct to note these are intended for machines that are produced by a hardware vendor like a Dell, Lenovo, HP, that sort of thing, that has a specific name and a specific hardware set that corresponds with that name. So you get the X1 Carbon Gen 9. You know that every unit of that is going to be more or less the same. There are some small variations. There might be different network cards and things in there. We include all the drivers for all of the different submodel variants that might be included for that, but you at least know there's going to be a consistent hardware set in between those. There's also a set of firmware identifiers on that machine that basically allow the machine to identify itself. I am a Lenovo, I am an X1 Carbon Gen 9, and it is through WMI queries that check those values that we verify that it is the correct machine to apply that platform pack to.
Jordan,
so to answer your question,
1,500 is not enough for you?
No.
Well, it's not enough if we're talking custom hardware, because custom hardware would not have a platform pack for this. What it would be is you'd go to a local PC shop, you would have them build you out a desktop with you'd buy a case, you'd buy a system board, you'd buy a video card, you'd buy whatever components you want to put in there, and that exact hardware set might not exist on any other machine. The other thing about it is those system firmware identifiers that I mentioned, that system board, that ASUS or whatever system board that is in the thing, instead of saying HP Elite Desk 600 mini tower or some other specific model, what it's going to say is something like to be filled in by OEM. So if you were to want to build a platform pack for this device, which you can do, any SmartDeploy user can build their own platform packs in exactly the same way that we do, and we do a video and an article on our KB that explains how to do that. Just respect that there is a learning curve involved with that. We've built hundreds of them ourselves. I've personally built hundreds of these. And it took a while to learn how to do it efficiently and in a way that was not going to break. So building your own platform pack is definitely a thing you can do. It's definitely a thing you can pay us to do. It's going to depend on whether there is a consistent hardware set available for that particular white box, and whether you have some sort of internal logic for, okay, I've got this many machines that have this exact hardware set. I ordered 10 of these. They've all got the same. I'm going to consider that to be model A in my environment, and I'll label my platform pack accordingly. Because if you're telling that platform pack to deploy to any device that has to be filled in by OEM as its model name, you might have 5 different hardware sets that have that exact same shortcoming. So you're basically making the platform pack less specific in order to be able to have it match that device. So The short answer is yes. The long answer is it's difficult, and getting away from machines that are heavily customized in that way is a very common growing pain for shops that start small but need to be able to expand to a larger inventory. They look for consistency. They look for something that's going to give them a consistent deployment experience for all of their employees.
Well, once again, I'm special, so I'm worth the time.
You're worth it.
We have some awesome questions. Do we have time to hit those? I think they tie pretty well into what we've been going into.
I'd like to show the inside of a platform pack here real quick before we do
Yeah,
that.
do that.
Absolutely.
So I'll go ahead and open up one of these here. So you can either right-click Edit here, or you can actually double-click on one of the files right there in Windows Explorer. It's going to open it in this application called Platform Manager. Now, the structure of these things you can see on the left-hand side here. So we've got the manufacturer. You can see here there is a WMI query here, and it is checking to make sure the manufacturer value is Dell. For some of the manufacturers, there might actually be multiple items listed here. So you can see here we have the ability to add multiple WMI queries. We have the ability to add exact WMI queries. These ones are fuzzy. So that if it just has Dell in the manufacturer name, it handles odd little variations that we sometimes see. This is where it's looking for the model. You can see here it matches exactly, latitude 5414, and this is also where the release notes live. So if any changes have been made to the platform pack, you will see those reflected here. Each one of the components is underneath the operating system here. That's Windows 10 for this one here, and they also have the ability to run tasks, which is any sort of command line operation that needs to run as part of the deployment of this platform pack. So here we have a BIOS update that runs in Windows PE after the image is applied. These are very common, especially on our more business class machines, because they release BIOS updates that can be automated in this way. So we go ahead and include those in the pack. Some of these devices include dock firmware updates. Basically anything that the manufacturer allows us to easily apply with a script, we include in the platform pack. So you can always be sure that you're getting the latest versions of those things as a part of the deployment process. Now, we've talked a lot about deploying as a part of a re-imaging operation, but it is actually possible to deploy these platform packs without re-imaging an endpoint. On this particular machine, I don't have any clients in the computer management view, but if I did, these would be clients in my environment that have the SmartDeploy client installed. They are either connected locally to the same network, or they are connected to an internet connection somewhere else, and they're connecting to me via the cloud. Either way, you can push out driver updates to that machine using whatever platform pack you have downloaded. It will let you know, hey, this machine has drivers out of date, and you can go ahead and push out the platform pack to that device. Now, that operation may trigger a reboot. Some driver updates do require a reboot to install properly. And also some of the tasks that I mentioned, like BIOS updates, absolutely require a reboot. So you'll want to be in communication with whoever's drivers you're updating. We don't do that automatically for you because we don't want to break anything in your environment. Likewise, we do not automatically update your platform packs for you. So whatever driver versions you are using that you have tested in your environment with your hardware, with whatever homebrew applications that your company works on. As a
clarification real quick.
Yeah.
You do update the drivers as you go. You just don't download the newest version for them by default.
That's exactly right. SmartDeploy will update. Our team will update driver packs both upon request and in response to support issues, and also just if we notice that they're out of date. And that does happen periodically, especially for the newer devices. So when a new version of a platform pack is available, you'll see that. Unfortunately, all of these are up to date right now, so you can't see that. But there is an icon on the left-hand side here that will appear to indicate that it can be updated. You would then right-click, and there would be an update option here in this right-click menu. And what that will do is download the latest version and delete the version that you have. So, but we don't ever want to do that for you because basically we don't want anything to stop working, and driver versions do sometimes make things stop working. We want you to be the one who tests that out. We want you to be the one who validates that and make sure that it works in your environment and it's not going to interfere with anything that you have going on in production. So, yeah.
Cool. We have a lot of questions. Should we go to the questions? Because I'm seeing quite a few, but
yeah, there's a couple. 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe. I don't know. Let's do it. First question, are the drivers current? Sincerely, Luck, be a lady tonight.
So you might have seen when I opened up the platform pack there that there was a release notes document here on the model. Now, what that will tell you is that it was current as of the date that this was last updated. So this is an older platform pack. It's for a model that doesn't routinely get updates anymore. And it was last updated in August 2021. So if you were ever to use this platform pack and find that drivers were out of date or that Windows Update was pulling down driver updates for it, you could always just reach out to support and say, hey, can you update this platform pack? And there may be updates available or there may not. The cadence of updates, particularly for these enterprise machines, goes pretty fast and furious for the first 6 months to a year, and then it slows way down. And they might just be getting updates for the Intel components, which are updated more regularly and are also more commonly held across multiple models. So basically, they are as up to date as our team has maintained them. But you can always request that we update an existing platform pack. Now, while some platform packs do require a fee for us to create them in the first place, and those are just for the less common or more complex devices, the most common business class devices are always included with the current support contract at no additional cost. It's just a support request. Ditto, if you need to update an existing platform pack, regardless of whether that was a paid one or a free one to begin with, updating a platform pack never costs money. As long as we're sticking with the same operating system, it never costs anything. And one final note on the operating system distinction, we are definitely aware that Windows 11 can deploy with Windows 10 drivers in many cases. So basically, for any device that has a Windows 11 driver set available, you can request a Windows 11 platform pack, but you can also try deploying Windows 11 with a Windows 10 platform pack, and SmartDeploy will allow you to do that. What it will do is prioritize. So if you have a Windows 11 and a Windows 10 platform pack for the same device, and you are deploying a Windows 11 image, it will use the Windows 11 pack if there is one. If there's not one, it will look for a Windows 10 pack and use that instead. We obviously can't guarantee that any given device will work with Windows 10 drivers on Windows 11, but we wanted to give users that option, particularly in the early days of Windows 11 when not a lot of driver sets were available for it. So that'll become less relevant over time because more Windows 11 drivers are available and you can just request a pack for them. But there is a little bit of flexibility built in there.
All right, let's move on to another question, shall we? How does SmartDeploy handle remote cloud-connected machines? No VPN. Sincerely, Billy Z.
Big fan of this question because it lets me talk about one of our coolest features, which is cloud deployment. So The way that SmartDeploy connects to the cloud is you have the ability to connect your SmartDeploy console to one of our supported cloud platforms, which are Box, Dropbox, Google Drive, and OneDrive, and as well as the business versions of each one of those. So the way it works is you would connect your SmartDeploy console to your personal cloud storage account with one of these providers. You basically would click on one of these; it'll open a browser to authenticate, and you would sign in. And if it's the first time you've ever signed in, you'll give permissions to our API app for that particular platform to allow SmartDeploy to upload and modify the files that it creates there. And just a heads up, we did recently revise the permission structure on this. So if you're already using cloud deployment, you may need to repeat that step periodically to sign back in. But that should hopefully only be a one-time thing upon updates. So the way it works when you're trying to deploy to an endpoint is here in computer management, you're going to see all of the, and I really wish I had a few cloud connected clients to show you here. But basically any endpoint that has the SmartDeploy client installed will first attempt to connect over whatever local network it is on. So if that machine is physically on the same network as your console, then it will show up with a local connection. It means that that client is communicating directly with this console over your local network. If it can't do that after 5 minutes, it will then reach out to api.smartdeploy.com, which is our web service, and it will use that for basically as a broker. It uses SmartDeploy's web service to communicate with the clients, and the clients use it to communicate with the console. It will show up here in computer management as a client connected with a cloud connection type. And if a device is showing up here with a cloud connection type, you have the ability to perform every deployment operation that you could perform locally on that device, but via the cloud. So what that means in practice is you would need to upload your images to the cloud. And you can see here this Windows 10 image is showing as uploaded to OneDrive for Business because I had this console connected to that previously. Mm-hmm. You would need to have your platform packs uploaded to the cloud as well. You would need to create a deployment package, which is basically just a bootable WIM that contains our Windows PE environment. And you would need to upload that as well. The client, meanwhile, would also have the ability to connect to to your cloud storage provider. Your users would not need to enter any credentials to do that. Basically, the console would be passing through a token for that client to use. So it would be console-initiated deployment, same as you can do locally. You would just be telling that device, hey, download this deployment package from OneDrive or from Box and mark it as the next available boot device, and then reboot yourself. The device will download the bootable WIM, it'll reboot itself into Windows PE, and it will proceed with an unattended deployment with an answer file that you've created that tells it where to find that image, which is also on OneDrive or Box or whatever your provider is. And then from within Windows PE, it's going to perform that same operation. It's going to connect to your cloud storage account. It's going to download the image in pieces, and it does that same hash validation piece of it as well. So there is some fail-safe functionality built in there. If it fails to download a particular split WIM piece, or if it downloads it and the hash does not match the known good version of that hash, it's going to assume that that image is bad and it's not going to apply it. So it is only if it is successfully able to download every piece of that image and validate every piece of that image that it will proceed with re-imaging that endpoint. If it fails, it'll just allow you to exit out of Windows PE, and then you'll be able to return to the existing OS on that machine. So that's it in a nutshell.
That's my favorite part of your product, Glenn. Love it.
You can also do all of the operations that are not re-imaging operations via the cloud as well. So you can do things like update the version of the SmartDeploy client. You can push out application packs. You can do that with a cloud connection as well.
So many questions. They keep coming in. Let's do some more.
I think I should try and answer them since
do it.
I've not played with SmartDeploy yet. So bring it on.
Listen, Glenn, you try to answer and then Glenn will correct you.
That'll collect me. Okay.
Actually, Lex, this is one you may be able to answer. Is SmartDeploy replacing inventory and deploy, or will they work together? Troy J.
Well, Troy, that's a great question. No, I don't think they're going to be replacing deploying inventory. Now, working together, definitely. I mean, think of all the time savings you're going to have just lighting the machine up, right? Getting it ready to rock, and then it's in your network, and then inventory and deploy, maintain it from there. I mean, that's a match made in heaven if I were to say so.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's definitely fair to say there is some overlap in functionality between SmartDeploy and deploy and inventory, but the plan has never been the plan has never been for one product to replace the other. The idea was that they would complement each other. Mm-hmm. And the fact that they are now all under one company umbrella, SmartDeploy was acquired by PDQ.com last year, our roadmaps are going to be aligned as well. We are going to be looking at additional ways in which these products can work together and can, one can fire off functionality on the other. We recognize the reality that a lot of SmartDeploy users use PDQ deploy and inventory, and for the record, that was something that we noticed on the SmartDeploy team before PDQ ever acquired our software. Was we would see PDQ deploy and inventory in customer environments all the time, and customers would tell us, "Hey, yeah, we use SmartDeploy to deploy the operating system. We use deploy and inventory for software and inventory management, and they work great together." And we're just now learning all of the ways in which they can work great together. But yeah, no, they're not going anywhere. They're not combining. They're not replacing each other.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. All right, more questions.
Do I get to swing at this one too?
Do it.
Okay.
I've used driver packs with other products, and it is a great feature for deploying new PCs. How about grabbing newer drivers and deploy those to current PCs? Ed L.
I don't know if you're going to know this one.
I know.
Oh, you do?
So
Okay.
we may have covered this one already.
Yeah.
The ability. Any device that has the SmartDeploy client installed, you have the ability to push out the latest version of the platform pack to that device without re-imaging it. You can definitely do that.
You did so well.
That's what I was
job,
going to
Lex.
say.
I know. I could feel that you were going to say that. I knew it.
Without his emotional support, I'm not sure if Glenn would have made it.
I know. Glenn is doing so well because Lex is helping him totally. Okay.
If you need any help, Glenn, let me know. Just pass it right on back. I got you, buddy.
All right, new question. This one comes from James D. Are drivers tested, or would we still need to do that? Example would be a Realtek driver last year caused a memory leak.
I know the answer. Glenn's going to say, yes, they test them, but you should test them on your own in a sandbox environment and make sure they don't break anything before you deploy them to real machines.
Actually, I was going to be even more humble than that. I would say in some cases we test them, in some cases we don't. We don't have every make and model of hardware that is available. We would not be able to offer such comprehensive driver support if we had to maintain an inventory of each device. Do
I get half points though?
To some extent, we trust the manufacturer's process on this. So they are releasing drivers that have gone through their own testing, and in that sense, we are basically in the same boat as everybody else. If you're pulling down drivers from any other source, if you're pulling them directly from the manufacturer's website, you are basically relying on that manufacturer's warranty that on their word that, hey, we tested this internally and we did not see any of these issues. Now, that is not the same as saying that a driver will not cause problems. It just means they did not see a particular problem in their testing. And it's the same way that when it comes to a new version of SmartDeploy, we test that extensively internally, but when we're releasing it out to thousands of customers, they are going to see failures that we never saw internally in our testing. So I can't promise that a driver is never going to have issues like that because it's just beyond the scope of our ability to test. We can't test on hundreds of different models continuously. And even if we did, we might not see whatever issue that you saw. But we are going to be responsive to any issues that you see. So if somebody comes to us and says, "Hey, this Realtek network driver is causing memory leak issues," and we have heard issues like that before, we will be quick to roll that back to a previous driver version. And the manufacturers are usually good about keeping their older driver versions up. So if a new version breaks anything, you can roll back to the older version pretty easily. And as an automation tool, we like to be responsive to that as well. So if a known bad version of a driver pack is out there, and it's causing problems in your environment, just reach out to SmartDeploy support and say, "Hey, this version is bad. We rolled back to this version and it's fine," and we will update the driver pack accordingly. We will always err on the side of using the known good version of the driver if we can.
All right. Well, this kind of answers this next question, but let's throw it up anyway. How often does SmartDeploy check for driver updates on models that are a few years old? Right.
Upon request. So anytime you want us to check on a machine, if you think there are updates, if you have no idea if there are updates and you want us to check, it's just a support request. So yeah, anytime.
All right, let's hit another. Hang on here.
I definitely got this next one. I
do.
feel
I
it.
feel it. Okay, ready?
I don't think you do.
Ready.
What is licensing cost per machine? Issue I ran into with testing SmartDeploy is there was a huge learning curve for end users when applying images remotely over VPN.
$1 million.
So the cost, that is definitely going to be a question for our sales team because they can get you the best information on that, but it's going to depend on the number of seats that you have. You can go to smartdeploy.com/buy and get, you can request pricing through there. And somebody from sales will be in touch and basically explain what the cost per device is. Yeah, unfortunately, I really can't give a ballpark figure here because honestly, I do not know what the current price of the software is because on the support side, we just don't interact with that all that much. But it'll explain what the different feature tiers of the product are. In a nutshell, starter includes the starter tier includes just the local deployment features, so USB and offline and network-based deployment that does not involve the SmartDeploy client. There's a plus tier that includes everything with the SmartDeploy client, but for local clients only. And then there's a pro tier, which includes all of that plus cloud deployment. So the cost per device is going to vary depending on which features you plan on using. And that also allows me to mention one other thing here, which is that you can deploy using other means besides the SmartDeploy client. It is not all console-initiated deployment. So if you're wondering what to do with a machine that is bare metal, so it has no operating system on it, you can't install a client on it, or a machine that has had its operating system corrupted in some way, so it's not bootable, you can boot to external media and get into the SmartDeploy Windows PE environment that way. So you can boot to USB, you can boot to WDS, Windows Deployment Services. You can do Pixie boot in your environment with that. We've got USB boot media where you're pointing to a network hosted image on your local network, or we've got USB offline deployment media, which is where everything you need is right there on that USB stick. Your drivers, your platform packs are on there. Your image is on there, also split up into pieces, and you can apply all of that without any network connectivity whatsoever. So we aim to be as flexible as possible with deployments, and all of those features are included. So,
Glenn, you forgot the optical drive if you're old school.
that is true. Yeah, we have the ability to create ISO files as media as well. We definitely have a sort of handshake deal with our customers that we don't encourage them to use third-party tools like Rufus to take an ISO file and put it onto a USB stick, but we're definitely aware that they do it anyway. And we updated that functionality so it was not just creating ISO files in the specific DVD formats, which were about 4 gigs, about 8 gigs for the single layer and dual layer DVDs. People were like, hey, what if we could just make one giant ISO file that has everything we need, including possibly multiple images, multiple platform packs? So we updated that to include I think it's up to 2 terabyte ISO file standard, which is part of the ISO file standard, even though there isn't really any disk that creates anything that large. I think Blu-ray discs are only about 30 gigs or something like that. So yeah, we can create giant ISO files, and we can also create those smaller ISO files to be burnt to optical discs. So if you have any older machines that have optical drives in them, you could burn DVDs and use those to boot them as well. So
Okay.
All right, well, let's do this. This is going to be what we call the speed round. We have 5 questions
scared.
left.
Good luck.
And Glenn, you're going to try and answer these in under 1 minute each.
all right.
All right. Or Lex or Tara or Jordan. I don't care.
Thanks for pretending.
Do we still get points if we answer wrong?
No.
No, dang
you
it.
You get negative points.
We're going to win.
All right, let's do this next question. How do you retain the old driver packs to test the new driver packs? How do I roll back to the old driver pack? Hex pull.
So that would be something you would have to do manually. So if you're planning on updating a platform pack, but you want to keep the old one around, what you would want to do is move it out of that C drive SmartDeploy platform packs folder. You could even move it into a subfolder, just call it old, and copy it into that. You could rename the file so it has a particular version, and that would essentially break the link to that current file. So basically, if you want to be able to test and validate older versions, keep the older versions around. If you set up regular backups for your SmartDeploy console host, you might have an older version you can roll back to. There are lots of ways to do that, but the default functionality is if you download the latest version of a driver pack, it is going to delete and replace the version that you have there. So.
Wow, I think that was just about a minute. Well done. Well done.
Beautiful.
That's what I was going to say.
Okay, next
You were.
next question on the list. When re-imaging, does SmartDeploy keep user data and restore it when completed or just wipe and clean? Jim L.
You can do
Can do
both.
both.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Thanks. You owe me a Coke.
yes.
So yeah, it can do both. So we have the ability we have integration with the Microsoft User State Migration tool. That's USMT. If you go to support.smartdeploy.com and search for, I think just create an answer file is where those options live, but it's also possible to do that outside. You can do that during a re-imaging operation, which is where it's going to back up the user data, apply the image, and then restore the user data. Or you can also do it outside of re-imaging using the SmartDeploy client. So it's possible to back up user data from one machine, restore it back to either that same machine or a different machine. So you can use it for a true migration scenario using the SmartDeploy client. If you're doing it during a reimaging operation, it's more of a refresh scenario because the same person, the same user data is staying on that one machine. It can be backed up either to a network share or a cloud storage account. If you're doing cloud deployment, it can be backed up there as well. Or it can actually be backed up to the local hard drive. And there's some complexity involved there, but it basically puts it into a backup folder which survives the reimaging process. If that's something you want to try and do, definitely read up on it beforehand and reach out to support if you have any questions.
90 seconds, Glenn. 90.
All right, speed round. I'll do the next one in under 30.
You're just going to have to talk faster.
All right, next question. Let's do this. Once a system is installed and used, to get it ready for a new user with SmartDeploy, would that just be a repave operation? Billy Z.
I'm not exactly sure what you mean by a repave operation, but I can tell you that when you deploy an image with SmartDeploy, installing the SmartDeploy client is just a checkbox in the answer file. So if you want to be able to perform any operations like pushing out application packs or joining it to the domain, if you're not doing that as part of reimaging, you can do it separate. You can rename that machine. You can push out software. You can push out commands. You can do all of that using the SmartDeploy client after deployment. And installing the SmartDeploy client is the default behavior. If you are installing any application packs during deployment, it'll go ahead and install the client. The client will go ahead and install those packs.
Basilisk.
Like
You know what's so cool about
good.
Glenn? I just got to take a moment to say this. Yes, Glenn is an incredibly fast talker, but also very clear. His diction is
Not
superb.
a single word out of place.
That's right.
I have
And
a
you
very
can
prestigious
hear him.
podcast.
So I want to throw this out here. Are we sure Glenn is not some form of AI? Are
We're
we?
not sure.
I don't think it matters.
It doesn't.
Doesn't
but I'm
matter.
just throwing that out there.
We're
All
not
right.
sure.
2 more. And here we go. Hang on.
We got the basilisk.
No, let's do this. There we go.
Okay.
This is the last one. Can you schedule the deployment of the updated driver packs to use in PCs? This way we could reboot when the user is not active.
I would have to double check this because I don't have any live clients I can test on right now, but I believe that like any operation for computer management, it is possible to schedule it for a later time. And that happens when you initiate that operation. You will either say do it now or do it at this time. For some operations, that also includes an option to allow the user to defer. And what that will do is pop a warning and let that user know, hey, the administrator has initiated an installation of these. Do you want to do it now or do you want to do it in 15 minutes? Similar to the workflow for Windows Update forcing a reboot. So if you ever want to do it during business hours, but you want to give the user the opportunity to defer that, that is also an option you can do.
Beautiful. That was beautiful.
Okay, I
That's,
want to just comment on James's comment. Keep user data. Ooh, exactly. Am I the only person that syncs OneDrive to their desktop and all their documents? I don't know why everyone doesn't just do that. That's craziness to me.
I don't think I've ever made a file I wanted to keep.
It's definitely my preferred approach as well, is
Yeah.
to put things into cloud-based or web services or OneNote or something where it's automatically being backed up at the moment of creation is definitely
Exactly.
my preference as well. But USMT is something that a lot of users requested. We, some people like using it, some people don't. Some people like to treat computers as units that can fail at any moment and keep everything on shared network drives with regular backup setup. We're not here to judge your backup and restoration processes. We're just here to make it as easy as possible to do whatever you think is best. But in the event somebody loses a lot of user data in a disaster scenario, they probably won't want to rely on USMT. They'll probably want to use something more robust.
Well, Glenn, good thing I'm here to judge. That's my job. Okay,
Ed
someone
comes in
just.
strong with you got signatures and settings.
Okay,
and
but
app
guess
data.
what? I saved those in OneDrive, so I do that. I like this. I just saw a glitch in the Glenn.
In the Glenn matrix.
You go, Stevie, with lots of companies not allowed to have data in the cloud.
What?
There you go.
I was going to say there's a
on.
security risk there.
Yeah, I wasn't going to go into security because
Heaven forbid me bring up
terrible at it.
security ever, right? But
No,
I'm just going
is
to
there
keep
a
making
security?
noise so
is
Kelly
there-
can't tell us to wrap it up.
No, guess what? Though Glenn just barely scratched the surface on what SmartDeploy can do because we didn't even really get into boot media. We talked about the ability, but we didn't practice it. So we got to have him back, Jordan. We got to do that next.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you, Glenn, for bringing just all that information. Thanks for Lex for
Happy to
coming.
be
Yeah, Lex for coming out of retirement for an entire hour.
it was rough, but
And Tara for carrying me so I don't have to do any actual work. For PDQ, I'm Jordan.
I'm Tara.
I'm Lex.
I'm Glenn.
I'm Jake.
Thanks for joining the webcast. Congratulations to Hexpole and Ray, winners of PDQ swag. Send us your info at webcast@pdq.com. And if you have not done so yet, please do us a favor, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It would make us smile. Thanks again. We'll see you back here next week.